Welcome back, everybody, to Oscar predictions for 2024. Now, I know it hasn't been very long, but I figured I already had these written down. Might as well share my thoughts on at least some of the exciting movies that are supposed to come out next year. Starting with my number one pick, Killers of the Flower Moon. Recent article came out about how Leo's already describing this as a masterpiece, but I mean, it's Scorsese, but he's made Scorsese movies before, and I haven't heard this splashy of a headline. I'm sure then again, he probably said that about pretty much every Scorsese movie, probably definitely something like The Departed, but that was a very good movie, and that's something that won Best Picture. It's based on a book, and Scorsese has clearly paid attention to paying respect to Osage County, which not only should help perception of the story, it should honestly make it better. It's an Eric Ross screenplay. He basically just writes stuff that gets to the Oscars, including the next movie that I'm about to mention, but I mean, Leo, Robert De Niro, Lily Gladstone will probably have a great role. I really don't see how this will not get in. And honestly, it could win if it's really as good as everyone says it is. It probably won't, and it's probably like Babylon or something like that. One of those big frontrunners. It's maybe so big that it just can't win, but we'll have to see. Next is Dune Part Two. Eric Roth also wrote this. The first one got in, so based on likelihood of nominations, this should be an easy contender for most nominations. It'll probably get pretty much all the same texts. May not win as many, but I'm sure it will at least get nominated for almost as much. But it also could be like The Return of the King if it clearly just capitalizes on all the excitement and acclaim the first one had, and maybe even like convinces people who are kind of like, oh, we're disappointed by part one, or like, oh, that was just a part one. They can, get more out of this movie. And so I think it will certainly be nominated, unless it's just somehow a complete flop, which I doubt very much. Number 3 is Oppenheimer. This might be a bit big, but this is frankly pretty Oscar bait. It's a World War II story. We know how bait World War One is, or World Wars are. All Quiet is an example of that. And I mean, he's gone in with his more Oscar bait stuff before. And this will probably be less of an action film, more of a character study. And I think it'll be considered important enough that it'll be a study of like a man who made something that's so destructive. I could see it as a critical failure because Nolan hasn't really thrived on complex character drama, or frankly just writing alone. He's seemed to have more claim with the screenplays he's written with his brother Jonathan, but frankly, this will have tons of text that they'll probably consider nominating, and it shouldn't be as complicated as when Tenet came out, and this is just more of an Oscar player overall. I know there's lots of people who might think the pacing might just be ruined, but how many characters there are, but I really think this is something you need to look out for. I mean, it's Christopher Nolan. He makes movies that people pay attention to, and hopefully this is one of his good ones. Blitz, I should maybe have this above Oppenheimer, but there is less confirmations it's even coming out, but this is something I would expect at Venice and Toronto, maybe a Telluride. McQueen hasn't made a movie since 2018's Widows. He has only made one Oscar contender. Nolan's made more, but of course that Oscar contender was 12 Years a Slave. And again, this is about World War II as well. Again, easy bait, but it's also a unique perspective, and that's about London residents living in the subways during like bombings and the event that transpires during that time. Has already some very talented actors in it. Saoirse Ronan being the lead. She could easily get nominated. I'll talk about that a little bit more. But, it's a World War II piece from a character perspective. So I really think that's something, even though Oppenheimer's kind of going for that, but I think it being about, like, the everyday people who were affected by the war will really increase the amount of interest in this movie. And it's from Apple. I'm sure Apple's banking this as one of their they have so many contenders this year. especially compared to last. They literally had nothing. So I don't know, maybe something like this gets delayed since it seems almost certain that Napoleon and Killers of the Flower Moon comes out. Like at the end of the day, I could see them pushing this, especially considering, I don't know, it seems almost the most Oscar bait out of everything they have. Even more so than Killers of the Flower Moon. I'm only more certain about Killers of the Flower Moon because it's Scorsese. But I think this movie will have an approach that will just work for people. And, you know, I know the Academy appreciates McQueen. He deserves another Oscar contender. I mean, he's really great. He doesn't really make crowd pleasers, but he knows how to make a movie. And probably it could end up being Critical Darling as well, which honestly this is something I could see winning picture, unlike the ones I have above it. Honestly, I find those three just easy nominations. This one could actually win, but also I think it's more likely to just not be nominated at all. But he also probably has some of the best critical acclaim you can claim across like a 4+ film filmography. Number 5 is Napoleon, from Apple and Ridley Scott. This frankly is just, I mean, it's something the Oscars want to award. The question really is in the critical reception, for sure. Like, this isn't something that will be nominated. I don't think it's bait enough to be nominated regardless of critical reception. Not that Killers or Oppenheimer would be either. But even Oppenheimer, I could see getting away with like a low 70s on Metacritic or something like that. I feel like Napoleon is something that probably needs an 80+. They want it to work. I think it could depend a lot on its limited theater chances. This is something that people need to see as a tech player, like they did All Quiet, to really get behind it. And so I think Apple should be giving a theater release. Not that Netflix really gave All Quiet that much of a theater push, but it's clear they campaigned it decently enough. So who knows? I'm sure Apple will release this in theaters. I know they are going to have to do that with Scorsese. Otherwise, he would not have let that happen. Also, yeah, I think this is the kind of movie that should be making a box office like jump of some kind, probably. I feel like this is a movie that should be able to hopefully connect people to the more populist Hollywood filmmaking. If it doesn't, I don't know, it just doesn't seem like, especially if this is going to be like a 3-hour long Napoleon movie, I cannot see people watching it at home. Then again, I don't know, I said that about I guess people probably said that about something like The Irishman. Again, has lots of acting and tech potential. Just the whole thing I'm more worried about is going to be, the almost Babylon-like ambition, especially from a director like Ridley Scott, who's pulled off epics before, to be sure. I just don't know if he can do it in this day and age. And ambition doesn't always guarantee you Oscar nominations or Best Picture nomination, as Babylon has shown, even though, just the conceit of something like Babylon seems like it should be a guarantee. Number 6 is Maestro. I know. Apparently Jeremy Strong was cut from this, which is really weird to see. But, it's classic biopic bait. Apparently it will explore more his relationships with his wife and his affairs with men. Interesting. I'm sure it won't be so focused on his music, which I think is probably a good thing. It's kind of in the same way how Tar was about a composer but wasn't really about the music. If this is a if this is a critical failure, again, I mean, most things, if they're a critical failure, will not get into Best Picture. I'm also saying if this doesn't have, this needs good critical scores, I think. This can't just settle for, below a 75 on Metacritic kind of thing. This isn't, that much of a bait, I think. Has good acting prospects. I mean, if this movie doesn't get at least Bradley Cooper nominated and a makeup nomination, it's a failure, especially that makeup nomination. If it somehow doesn't get that makeup nomination, it's a complete failure. Complete waste of money probably from Netflix's perspective, because they're probably only making this movie to get Oscar buzz, and get another Oscars contender in there. Yeah, I mean, clearly designed as an Oscar movie, and since the concept has been floating around, and like Spielberg was attached to this thing at one point, and he held over the reins to Cooper, and so we'll see if he can repeat what he did with A Star Is Born. I do think maybe I underrated his direction in that a little bit, but he was also just working with such talented people. Josh Singer's behind the script. He did Spotlight, did First Man. He's not a certainty. He also wrote The Post. So again, very strong Oscar meant film that still will need to do pretty well critically, I think. Even though it's pretty kind of the thing that Oscar voters want. Netflix also still hasn't managed to stumble so much that they just don't get anything to Best Picture. And I do kind of doubt Rustin a little bit. I don't know if that movie will be like, I don't know. Again, George C. Wolfe missed with Ma Rainey. I'll discuss that more. Yeah. Obviously, Netflix kind of came close. All Quiet seemed like it was on the brink, but then obviously that BAFTA results led to all of its Oscar success, and then all of that. But that was not how it looked for the longest time. And it's clear that they probably honestly don't know how to campaign to save themselves. But I'm sure they know this is their number one contender, unless they get maybe a little too woke and align with Rustin, which I don't know if is... I don't know. It could just be their better movie. It could be their movie that connects with Oscar voters more. Who knows? Number 7, Past Lives. I mean, we've seen something like this, like Everything Everywhere Once is already being compared to this movie, just being an absolute critical smash. It is probably more akin to After Sun, but probably better, because it is a big hit out of Sundance. And I think A24 knows that it has giant critical acclaim, and knows that they can push this for acting, definitely screenplay. It could, be a Coda-like contender in some ways. They can make it this year's Minari. That's the easy comparison. Screenplay, acting. I think this can chase after Picture, honestly. Like, if this really connects to people, it will be there. Like, and it seems to already. If it can reach a larger audience, like, I don't think we can expect it to reach an Everything Everywhere audience, but if they even come close, I think they have a very good chance of getting nominated and making it a huge contender, because it's already clear people are connecting with this movie. Has acting potential from Greta Lee, at the very least, for actress. I think John Margaro could be thrown in supporting, even though he's apparently kind of a co-lead with the three of them. And then Hoi Chi Min is also in the mix. He seems the least likely, considering he doesn't seem to be the primary protagonist, considering a woman wrote it. I'm assuming Greta Lee's character is, like, it's from her perspective mainly, but lots of potential there. And who knows, maybe, like, again, I don't know if it's the kind of thing, it could get editing, I guess. It's not the kind of thing that would get text in the same way that Everything Everywhere did. It's not, like, showing off, really, as far as I know, in any that way. But, something like Coda can win without literally getting nominated for any text. So, this can easily, almost a screenplay lock. And that might be insane to say, but, like, this really does feel like something the screenwriters branch is going to want to recognize. And I'd be very surprised to not see it, at least at, I don't know if she's a WGA member, but I think at least at WGA. And who knows, right now, I don't know if there could just not be a stronger screenplay. Because even something like After Sun, the screenplay isn't as clearly strong. And still lacks technical elements. Again, maybe editing. But yeah, this will be great. I'm really looking forward to seeing this movie. I think it'll be great. And hopefully A24 does what it needs to make this reach a larger audience, and or at least the Oscar voters, in the same way that they did with Everything Everywhere, but also didn't do with After Sun. Number 8 is Next School Wins, from Searchlight. I don't know. People are doubting this movie more and more because of how long it's taken to come out, but I feel like Searchlight is partly holding on to this because they know the concept in the movie itself, because I'm probably sure they've pretty much had the picture lock, or at least the most of it locked, and then they replaced Armie Hammer because they had to. But they did that, I think, because they know they have something here. They're still putting this into September. They still want this to be a TIFF People's Choice winner. And while I personally have some speculations that TIFF People's Choice winner will not correlate to Oscars as much in the future, just because of the way they have it set up, I have a video going into that in the future, but I really think they know they have something here. I think Michael Fassbender's an easy contender to win, honestly. I think the Oscars will really appreciate, especially if he's nominated and gets to general voters, they'll really appreciate someone who, like, is funny in a lead role. I feel like that's something that's a little bit lacking lately. Like, I'm just trying to think. Like, someone, like, well, I guess Michelle Yeoh's movie is funny, and she's kind of funny, but she's not, like, purposely, I don't know. I guess. Point is, I think, but they like that kind of performance, right? And so I think this is something that we'll see him be a big contender. You know, People's Choice has pretty consistently also got at least like about 2 nominees in during the non-lockdown years. So I think this is something you really got to look out for. Yeah. I mean, they'll go for sports movies. King Richard proves that. I think this will be better than King Richard. And it could even see Michael Fassbender winning. Because I think he'll just be like an insane but fun coach. Almost like a combination of a J.K. Simmons and Whiplash, and I don't know, who's funny? I don't know, Hugh Grant? I don't even know what I'm talking about. Number 9 is The Holdovers, from Focus Features. This is a film that went to buyers in Toronto, sold for, $30 million to Focus Features. And yeah, I mean, that's a lot of money. That clearly shows they have confidence in this as, again, an Oscar contender. Like, what else? Like, there's nothing about the movie from its stars to its concept that I think would make it like a box office sensation. So I really don't know why else they would be putting this in. So that's, yeah, I think this is a pretty likely contender. Divine Joy Randolph's in this. I hope she gets the Best Supporting Actress nomination. Paul Giamatti might be making a comeback in this. Has lots of potential. Number 10 is The Color Purple. I do think this will be nominated at the end of the day. I mean, it is a remake, but we've shown that remakes of Best Picture nominees will get in if they're good enough. This has Steven Spielberg behind it, a very large and talented black cast. Lots of great actors and singers. And again, this is a very Oscar bait story. It's a musical, though, but I think they're down for that. I think the Oscars will definitely be willing to embrace this movie. It has some interesting director behind it and technical people, so I'm looking forward to seeing this as a contender. Number 11 is May/December. I would maybe have it over The Holdovers if it wasn't for the casting of Charles Melton and the lack of distributor. But as of now, it sounds like a unique film about the actors, and it could appeal to the Academy. I mean, if anyone works with this unique cast, I think it would be Haynes, and Portman and Moore are, while they're not anything big in the Oscars lately, they are certainly very talented. Number 12 is Ferrari. Man is not an Oscar player all the time. The only thing he got an Oscar nomination for was The Insider, which was an Eric Ross script. I'm sure Mann is bringing more, of a Oscar type thing here, but the screenwriter did pass away in 2009, and so who knows if the script has been aged well or updated well through Mann's direction. We'll have to see. 13 is Rustin, kind of aiming to be Milk 2.0. It literally has the same writer. I think some people appreciate the perspective being shown in this film. It'll almost certainly be on Obama's Best of 2023. His production company produced it, and he's not afraid to be biased. I mean, this really relies on how good the screenplay and story connects with the audience. George C. Wolfe's direction probably won't be the thing that brings a lot of attention, because, in a movie like Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, Chadwick wasn't enough. How Do You Live? This would have to be so many people's favorite movie to get here. And frankly, I really hope this is something that just sends people off their rockers, a big wake-up call to Disney, Pixar, and even Sony. Just step their game up, and I really think this will be an amazing movie, and I really want to see it in picture. 15 is Strangers. The fact that Searchlight has this telling me that this could be a big critical hit and turn into a contender has some buzzy names: Andrew Scott, Paul Mescal, Claire Foy, Jimmy Bell. It's about a screenwriter, which opens it up to Academy appeal a little more, especially the Screenwriters Guild. But I think it being a critical hit is essential, because I don't think, audiences will initially connect with it automatically just based on the concept, but we'll have to see how that goes. 16 is Megapolis. There's been a lot of talk about how the production of this and how much Coppola's put into it, selling part of his winery to get this in. This needs to be a hit, but I also wouldn't rely on critical favor, just because of how critics look at films made like this and actors like Shia LaBeouf. But Coppola is definitely one of the greats, but making something like Apocalypse Now, I don't know if it will happen twice. Barbie, this again needs to be a critical hit and an audience favorite. It have to be something akin to Everything Everywhere All at Once Love to get a nomination, frankly. It'll probably pick up some text no matter what, production design probably being one of them, but it's kind of hard to be seeing Barbie taken seriously enough, unfortunately. Saltburn, this maybe should be higher, but there's nothing initially that seems like this will be Oscar-like. It will probably follow the same thriller feminist ideas that Fennell introduced in Promising Young Woman. And again, if there weren't any of that feminist stuff, I'm going to be honest, Promising Young Woman would probably not be nominated. Not that it's a bad movie, it just wouldn't get that kind of attention from the Oscars. 19 is Priscilla. We'll see if they continue to like Elvis stuff. They didn't like it too much when it came to actually giving it awards, but I think at least Kaylee Spenny and Jacob Elordi will compete in acting. Challengers, from Luca Guadagnino. This doesn't seem like it's trying to be an Oscar movie at all. He literally described this as a fun and sexy movie. It's a new writer. Could get a music nomination for Reznor and Ross, and maybe an actor if it seems like it fits the bill. 21 is The Way of the Wind. Maybe a Venice premiere. I don't know if this will even come out. That's a complete confusion. But a Jesus movie hasn't been nominated for Best Picture, and I don't really expect it to be, but it's Malick. He would be the one. 22 is Air. This feels like it should be an Oscar contender, but I mean, I don't know where Amazon's campaign money is going these days. If they're even, it doesn't unlike Apple, they seem to be not trying to win anything. This year, they only pushed Argentina in 1985 and 13 Lives, barely. Number 23 is The Killer. I mean, Fincher's returning back to The Seven, The Gone Girl, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. Something the Oscars will probably stay away from. I could see Fassbender Swin getting in. Maybe some technical things, editing, cinematography, maybe sound. Number 24 is Asteroid City. Considering French Dispatch utter lack of nominations, it shows that the Academy will only be receptive to Anderson once in a while, and I think it's only because his characters, it focuses on his core leads. So when you have two strong leads like Grand Budapest Hotel and Moonrise Kingdom did, it's a lot easier. Even Royal Tenenbaums, it was a little, every character was very distinct and compelling. It's a little hard to do that in a anthology, and with this new film, it seems like he's just putting so many people into this film that I don't know if it's going to all mesh together in the way the Academy would like. Number 25 is Elemental. This would have to be the best Pixar movie, bar basically none, except for Wall-E and Ratatouille and stuff. yeah, I don't. It's not getting in, but it could be pretty. It could win animated feature and will maybe be thrown into the discussion if it is something like that. I had Stone Mattress here. It's not being nominated. It will. I think it's only getting made this year, so this will almost certainly be not a 2024 Oscar contender. But who knows? 27 is Poor Things from Yorgos Lanthimos. Probably sounds way too weird for the Academy. It would have to be the biggest critical and audience hit ever. And honestly, there would have to be some social commentary integrated into this. But it sounds like he's too weird and going to do this in such an alienating way. 28 is Indiana Jones 5. Again, it would have to be the biggest movie of the year, a Top Gun-like contender. I just don't think it looks that good. I don't know if people want this movie to do well necessarily. It is kind of seen mostly as a cash grab. I had The Brutalist. I think this is also now only getting into production, but maybe the actors will get nominated. The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. It's an anthology, so its peak will probably be what Francis Tinchpat hoped with, so maybe screenplay, production design, but as an animation segment, so again, I don't think the Academy will take it seriously. The Bike Riders, apparently it's not going to Cannes. This could have some acting nominations. Has great cast, Jodie Comer, Tom Hardy, Michael Shannon, Austin Butler, and Mike Faced all in the film. And is also there, the other Yorgos project, which is also an anthology film. It'll probably be even weirder because it's written by Lanthimos and his collaborator Ife Philippou, who's done The Lobster and Killing of the Sacred Dealer with him, so it was weird stuff. 33 is The Old Oak. It's not clear I don't know if Loach's stuff will ever be pushed for Oscars. Hi, Parker. But we'll have to see. You want to join me in my video? Why are you smoking the mic, bro? 34 is Flora and Son. John Carney has never made it to the Oscars, but maybe finally he could get a song in. Apple did buy this, so it shows it maybe has some confidence, might push it somewhat. Probably won't be Coda 2.0 though. Foe from Amazon. I really don't know if this will come out this year, but it seems like it's more in production than like Stone Mattress at least. Has the guys who made Power of the Dog, King's Speech producing. It's also from the guy who wrote the novel I'm Thinking of Ending Things, so not as likely, but it is from the director of Lion. It has Saoirse Ronan, Paul Mescal, and Aaron Pierre, who's great in Underground Railroad by Barry Jenkins, and also Brother. Best Director, just going to name them off. Martin Scorsese, Christopher Nolan, Denis Villeneuve, Ridley Scott, Steve McQueen. Michael Mann, Hayao Miyazaki, Bradley Cooper, Taika Waititi, Todd Haynes, Wes Anderson, Greta Gerwig, Emerald Fennell, Sofia Coppola, Ben Affleck, Terrence Malick, David Fincher. I'm sure there'll be more that we're not expecting. Francis Ford Coppola should maybe be higher. And then Yorgos Lanthimos. Best Actor, Joaquin Phoenix for Napoleon, Bradley Cooper for Maestro, Leonardo DiCaprio for Killers of the Flower Moon, Michael Fassbender for Next Goal Wins. It's honestly conservative. I think Barry Keoghan will get in for Saltburn. That boy is on such a rise. Adam Driver for Ferrari, Matt Damon for Air Jordan, Cillian Murphy, I should probably put him above, for Oppenheimer. Adam Driver for Megalopolis, Andrew Scott for Strangers, Mike Face for Challengers, Michael Fassbender for The Killer, Willem Dafoe for Poor Things, Joel Edgerton for The Brutalist. Saoirse Ronan for Blitz, #1. Jennifer Lawrence for Sue. I don't know if that's coming out. Julianne Moore for May/December. Greta Lee for Past Lives. And Regina King for Shirley. Kaylee Spaney for Priscilla. Zendaya for Challengers. Emma Stone for Poor Things. Marion Cotillard for The Brutalist. Sandra Oh for The Stone Mattress. Shirley Atim for All Roads Lead to Salt. Margot Robbie for Barbie. Rosamund Pike. And maybe Vanessa Kirby for Napoleon. Supporting actor, Robert De Niro for Killers of the Flower Moon, Jesse Plemons for Killers of the Flower Moon, John Margaro, Past Lives, Harrison Dickinson for Blitz, and Robert Downey Jr. for Oppenheimer. It could be anyone from Oppenheimer. Paul Mescal for Strangers, Tahar Rahim for Napoleon, not Jeremy Strong, lol. Glenn Turman for Rustin, Ben Affleck for Air Jordan, Jacob Elordi, Lawrence Fishburne, Mark Rylance for The Way of the Wind, Mark Ruffalo for Poor Things, Dev Patel for The Story of Henry Sugar, and Josh O'Connor for Challengers. Supporting actress, this actually is the strongest contenders, I think. Lily Gladstone, Carey Mulligan for Maestro, Elizabeth Moss for Next Goal Wins, Taraji P. Henson for The Color Purple, and Divine Joy Randolph. I could see easily all of them getting in. Emily Blunt, I just doubt Nolan's ability to get someone in. Penelope Cruz, Tilda Swinton, Carey Mulligan, Probably not. Aubrey Plaza, Talia Ryder. I think someone from Dumb Money should maybe have a chance. Margot Robbie, Vanessa Kirby, and Viola Davis. She might actually break out a little bit more depending on what she does. This video's kind of gone long enough. Hope you guys enjoyed that as much as I did writing it. And yeah, those are just at least some movies that you can look forward to. You should go check out Blackberry or Therapy Dogs if you haven't already. This has been reviewing Oscar predictions. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.